Hey everyone, Teo here. Today I'm reviewing the Ugee UT2 Android tablet, and this is an actual tablet that you don't have to connect to a computer. First of all, disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by the company. So in this video, I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. And as usual, let me give you the bottom line up front. This tablet has better pen performance than I expected. The pen handles pressure sensitivity really well. Performance with tilt sensitivity will vary depending on the app you use. So this app is Concepts, and when I tilt the pen, I can see tilt work a bit here, but it doesn't work here, and now it works. Vertical, tilt, nope. Vertical, tilt, okay, now it works. Vertical, tilt, doesn't work. Vertical, tilt, doesn't work. So tilt doesn't work well or consistently with Concepts. Let's switch to Sketchbook, which also supports tilt sensitivities. Let's see if we can get a smoother transition. So this is vertical, and let's tilt the brush now. Vertical and tilt. So the transition is actually quite smooth. So tilt works fine with Sketchbook. This matte glass surface is wonderful to work with, and the display is actually bright enough to go through diffused reflections. So that's how white reflections can be, and anti-glare works really well. Some downsides with this tablet for drawing would be latency. There is more latency with this tablet compared to other pen tablets or pen displays or iPads and Samsung tablets, but it's not really an issue that affects my drawing. And palm rejection works fine, but sometimes doesn't work, and when it doesn't work, it may actually undo your strokes. So it is quite irritating when that happens, because when it undoes, you have to draw again. When it undoes, you have to draw again. So to prevent that, you may have to wear the artist glove that's included. Battery life is pretty good. You can get around 6 to 7 hours with the tablet running at maximum brightness. Overall performance of this tablet is smooth. There is 8 gigs of RAM. Now the processor is not the latest or the strongest processor, but for non-gaming purposes, for drawing purposes, checking email, social media, watching videos, the processor and the amount of RAM is definitely more than sufficient for a smooth experience. My overall drawing experience with this tablet is quite positive. By the way, I also have the Ugee UT3 14-inch Android tablet to review. So if you want to check out that tablet, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Right now, all I can say about that tablet is the drawing performance of this smaller tablet is actually better than the bigger tablet for some reason. So that's pretty much the bottom line. And now let's move on to the full review. Let me show you what's included in the box. This is the packaging box, and there are some specifications listed behind. Inside the big box, there are 2 smaller boxes. So this one holds the flip case, and this one obviously holds the tablet. Just to save time, I have already unboxed everything. So this is a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, one artist glove, warranty card, quick start guide. There's a SIM ejection tool, a pen nib remover, and 1 extra pen nib. And inside this box, there are the interchangeable plugs for the 15-watt USB-A charger. This is the flip case. The cover is made with PU leather and there is the Ugee logo here. This texture feels like cloth and there is a pen holder for the pen. And the back cover is flexible. So let me just put this tablet in and it fits very nicely, and the case will provide protection on all sides. So this is how the back looks, and there is auto wake and sleep when you open and close the cover. This is the included pen and it's called the U pencil. And this pen supports 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity and palm rejection. And so does this pen that comes with the Ugee UT3 tablet. Now these two pens are interchangeable, so you can use the UT3 pen with the UT2 tablet, or you can use the UT2 pen with the UT3 tablet. However, this pen has two side buttons, but the UT2 pen has no side buttons. There is only this eraser at the back. And if you use this with the UT3 tablet, there is actually the software to customize the side buttons. But for this pen, there are no side buttons to customize and you cannot customize the eraser at the back. This pen has to be powered on before you can use it. So to power on, you just press the eraser button at the back and the blue light will appear. This pen is powered by battery and you can use the USB-C port here to charge the pen. The battery life is rated to be around 130 hours. So if you draw non-stop for 12 hours each day, it's probably going to last for 10 days. This pen nib is made with plastic and there is minimal movement when in contact with the drawing surface. You can remove this with the pen nib remover, or if your fingernails are long enough, you can just pull this out. Build quality for the pen is quite solid and it has a nice weight, and the design is almost cylindrical except for this flat side here, and the surface is matte textured but semi-glossy, and this is quite comfortable to hold and it has a good grip. The tablet does not provide adjustment for pressure sensitivity, so if you need to adjust the pressure curve, you will have to rely on the drawing app you use. Let's look at the design of this tablet. So this is a good looking tablet with uniform bezels on the four sides. The corners are rounded off, and that includes the corners for the LCD display. Resolution of this 10.36-inch LCD is 2000 by 1200, and the aspect ratio is somewhere between 16 by 9 and 16 by 10. So this is how the matte textured surface looks when there is strong light source shining on it. And this is the actual reflection on a glossy surface. So the display is actually bright enough to go through the diffuse reflections. So this is actually pretty good. The matte textured surface works really well, or the anti-glare works really well. There is usually some amount of color noise, grain or shimmering effect with matte textured glass, and I am happy to say that you don't get much of that here. So the visual quality is not degraded too much, and all the visuals still look pretty sharp to me. This display is said to have color support for 72% NTSC, which translates to around 99 or 100% sRGB, and the colors do look good out of the box. And the colors do look vibrant, and the display is definitely bright enough. And since this is a LCD display, the blacks are not going to be as black compared to OLED displays, but this still looks black enough, and the visuals do look really good, especially on a matte textured surface. And thankfully the display is bright enough, So many Android tablets, especially the budget Android tablets, have dim displays with low brightness, but this tablet, this is actually quite bright. And speaking of brightness, there is adaptive brightness or auto brightness, but auto brightness doesn't work well, so I'm using manual brightness right now at 100% brightness. And you can see some drop in brightness or contrast with extreme viewing angle, but that's okay because usually when you're using the tablet, you're looking at it straight on, and that's where you will get the best visual quality. And I also noticed there is some IPS or LCD glow, which again is not really too much of an issue here. And since this is matte glass, it is unlikely for the plastic pen tip to scratch the glass. This display is laminated, so there is minimal gap between the line and the pen tip when drawing. And the gap that you see here is actually the latency gap, as the line is trying to chase the pen tip. There is latency on this display, and if I remember correctly, it's 20 milliseconds. And just for comparison purposes, the Samsung S Pen has a latency of 2.9 milliseconds. So this is the amount of latency you can expect on this tablet, which for drawing is actually not really too much of an issue, at least for me, because I don't really draw that fast. And even with latency, as you can see, I am able to draw the lines and get where the lines to go where I want them to go. Weight of this tablet is 466 grams, which is quite reasonable for a tablet this size, and the thickness is 7.5 millimeter. The edges are slightly beveled, so they are not sharp, and I can actually see the glass above the metal frame. There is one 8 megapixel camera here in landscape orientation, and it does not support face unlock, and there is also no fingerprint unlock with this tablet. So when you unlock the tablet, you have to type in your PIN or do a swipe. Here at the top, there is the power button and one speaker, and there is another speaker at the bottom, so you get stereo speaker. The audio is loud, but it sounds hollow, which is not surprising. And that's the USB-C charging port, and this does not output video. And that's the 3.5mm audio jack at the corner for some reason. And on this side, you get the volume buttons and this SIM tray. This tablet has support for 1 micro SD card, so you can add storage easily if you want to, but there is no support for nano SIM. So this tablet does not support cellular. This is how the back looks. This is matte textured metal and it feels good, and thankfully it doesn't attract fingerprints that easily. That's the 8 megapixel camera and this Ugee design. This design feels weird, as in it feels like pasted sticker, but it's not a sticker. Let's talk about general performance. So this tablet comes with 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, and is equipped with the MediaTek MT8781 processor. I did a search online and the specifications for this processor is quite similar to the MediaTek Helio G99. And the GPU is Mali G57. Now overall performance is smooth and it's fast enough. The display, by the way, is 60 Hz, so if you scroll really fast, you will still be able to see the 60 Hz jutter. Now overall performance is fast enough, but it's not as fast compared to the more expensive tablets. But for drawing purposes, for general usage, it's fine. It's just that this tablet is not going to give you the best graphics resolution when gaming, if you want to play at high frame rates. By the way, this tablet is running on Android 14, And the UI actually looks decent enough. This is the wallpaper from my Samsung tablet. I just don't like the app switcher because when you swipe up to look at the apps that are open, you have to scroll left and right to find the app you want. So hopefully Ugee can update the firmware to have the app switcher show thumbnails or previews for all the apps that are open on one page rather than have you scroll left and right to find the apps you want, because if you have many apps open, you have to do a lot of scrolling. And when it comes to multitasking, this tablet has no problem with multitasking, as in opening apps. But generally speaking, when I'm using the tablet, I'm just using one app at a time. If you want to, you can use split screen mode. Works fine, it's just that you get two smaller windows, and obviously this tablet does not have PC mode or desktop mode like the Samsung DeX. The UI on top of Android 14 is called Ugee OS, and the features are very basic. So if you want more features, you will have to install your own launcher. And there is Google Play Store. So with Google Play Store, you can install many wonderful drawing apps that are available on Android. And by the way, this tablet does not come with that many bloatware. The company has installed some free drawing and painting apps, but that's it. And now it's time for some line tests. And the app that I'm using is Medibank Paint Pro. By the way, you can use this tablet for taking notes. It's just that when you're writing fast and you will definitely see the latency. I've just put the tablet in the case so that I can put the tablet on the table without it moving due to the camera bump. So Medibank Paint is the app that I like to use to test line quality, because this app does not apply software correction to the pen. This is not too bad. The lines are actually quite straight. It is not easy for me to maintain consistent pressure to get a consistent thickness. And you can see some line breaks because I'm drawing with almost no pressure. Yeah, the initial activation force is low, but you will definitely want to apply some pressure so that the lines will not break like this. And this is again how thick the brush is. So this is actually not too bad. I would say it's quite good, because for some budget Android tablets with pen support, you will get lines like this. You will see the obvious wave pattern, but for this pen, this is not too bad. This is actually quite good. Next, let's look at the tapered strokes. Okay, this is good. You can see how the stroke tapers smoothly and sharply. And also sometimes when I do a quick swipe, you can see the start of the line is actually thinner and becomes thicker and then thinner. So this is also pretty good. Next, let's look at the transition from thin to thick and back to thin. So this is the true test of pressure sensitivity. And I am able to draw thin lines after drawing the thick lines. With some budget Android tablets and their pens, when you try to draw thin lines after drawing the thin line will actually be quite thick. But here, as you can see, this thin line is almost as thin compared to the start of the line. So this is actually pretty good. And this is also a diagonal line. So as I draw, I don't really see any wobble and jitter. So the line transition is smooth and the line itself is pretty smooth. So this is good. And now let's see if I can maintain consistent pressure to draw a line with consistent width or thickness. And yes, I can do so. Let's draw some dots. No problem. Next, we will test for cursor misalignment, and to do that, I will draw separate lines and join them to see if there will be gaps or if the lines will overshoot. And I definitely have, oops, I drew too fast there. I definitely have no issues with the lines overshooting, and there are no gaps. Here you can see one line overshooting, but that's because I drew too fast. And earlier on you may see one stroke disappear. That's because of the accidental palm rejection. There you can see it again. So sometimes palm rejection doesn't work that well. And now let's talk more about the drawing experience while I create a quick sketch. So this app that I'm using is Concepts, and all the artworks that you see here are actually transferred from another Android tablet. The backup option provided by this tablet does not back up the artworks. So if you create any art or if you create any notes on this tablet, you have to back up those files manually yourself. You can either back up those files to the cloud or you can save it onto the micro SD card. I like to use Concepts because this is a really fun app to use. And this app features an infinite canvas and uses vectors, so you can zoom in all the way and the visuals will still look sharp. So this is just a very quick line and fill color sketch. Now, this tablet has been running at maximum brightness for a while now. So the tablet does feel warm. It's not like that hot, but when you place your palm on the display, you can definitely feel the heat because it's running at maximum brightness. The tablet supports finger gestures, obviously, finger gesture shortcuts. For this app, it supports 2, 3, and 4 finger gesture shortcuts. So as I draw the diagonal line, I can see that it's quite straight, so that's good. Let me just draw a bit faster because I actually still want to show you another app. So the drawing performance is quite smooth. I mean, drawing apps, they are not going to tax the processor. So what I'm drawing here is just a building, nothing too special. I want to draw a building because there are many diagonal lines so that you can see whether or not diagonal lines will affect the drawing. And so far, so good. I mean, when you're drawing, you can tell instantly whether or not there is diagonal line wobble or jitter and whether that will affect your work. And for this pen, I don't see. By the way, this is the reference photo that I am using, and this is the Ugee UT2 with a 14 plus inch display, and this is how big that tablet is compared to this. I will try to put out the review for UT3 as soon as I can. All I can say right now is the drawing performance with this tablet is not as good compared to the UT2. So if you want to buy the bigger tablet, please watch my review first before you make your purchase decision. This 10-inch display is actually a reasonable size to work with. It's still quite big, as in this size is almost A5 size. So even if you place your palm by the side like this to draw, there is still plenty much of canvas space for drawing. Pressure sensitivity works well with this tablet and also with the pen. I can get thin lines, thick lines, thin, 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 thin. Maybe I can put a thick line here. Let's draw a window here with a diagonal line. Oops, notice that, undo again. Yeah, sometimes it happens. So this diagonal line actually looks pretty straight. Let's give this window ledge some thickness. So the lines, as you can see, are quite straight. Okay, the texture, the matte textured surface of this pen feels really nice to draw on. And because the screen is not glossy, I am able to have my palm move on the display more smoothly. If the screen is glossy, now my hand is quite sweaty right now. My hand will just stick to the glossy surface. So for this matte textured surface, this is actually a pretty good drawing experience. Yeah. And the pen tip is not that. Did that line just undo by itself? I think so. Yeah. What was I trying to say? Yeah. And this matte textured surface provides a nice texture, and the pen tip is not that slippery. So the drawing experience is actually quite positive, affected only by the occasional random undo due to the palm rejection not working that well. Okay, see this line that overshoots? Let me just erase it. Yep, the eraser works fine. The eraser does wobble, as in there is movement with this button. So when you press down on the eraser, the button will move in. So this app features a minimal user interface, and on a 10-inch tablet, you actually get a lot of drawing space. So that is good. Okay, so this is the very quick, very simplified sketch. The line art, oops. Okay, the line art looks good to me, as in I was able to get the thin and thick lines to come out exactly the way I expect them to come out or to appear. The next app that I'm using is Medibank Paint, and if you use an app with lots of palettes and tools on the display, this is the amount of canvas space you will be left with. So this 10-inch size tablet works best with apps that have minimal user interface. Otherwise, when you're drawing, you have to hide and unhide the palettes constantly. It's not very productive. You can use Krita and Clip Studio, but those apps are going to have so many tools and palettes by the side unless you hide and unhide. So I'm just going to draw some random dude shopping at a market with the help of a reference photo again. We can have thick lines here, thin lines. Let's draw the head here. Thin line, thick, that's the ear. We have the hair. Let's have the specs coming out. The nose. Okay, so for this app, the eraser actually works as an eyedropper. I am looking through the settings and there is no way for me to customize the eraser button, so I don't want to use this as an eyedropper and I cannot use this as an eraser, so I will have to select the eraser to erase this. Okay, you can see the thin lines here. So this is a good test for me right now. So I'm going to draw all these individual items very quickly. Draw all these squares and rectangles and try to join the lines as fast as I can to see if the lines will misalign. And it's okay, it works fine. Definitely no issues there. This pen certainly is not as sensitive compared to pen displays and pen tablets, but for a drawing tablet, it is actually pretty good. And I actually am quite surprised that it is better than I expected. Let me expand this. 3 points. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Yep, that is great as well. Maybe we can have a jacket that is black. If you're someone who likes to sketch really quickly, I guess you can do so as well. So now I'm sketching very quickly using minimal pressure. Yeah, it works fine. The issue, as mentioned earlier, is still the palm rejection not working that well. So if you want to get better palm rejection, you may have to wear the artist glove, or just be like me, just have your palm on the table instead of on the tablet. Let's draw some background element. Maybe there is a store in the background. So notice I have not even changed the brush size yet. It's still that very thick 78 pixel brush. And with that same brush, I can get a good variety of thin and thick lines, which is great. See how thin this line is? And the lines can taper quite well as well. You can see the smooth taper. And if I want to make this thick, let me just press down hard to make it thick. Let's go with white to create some, highlights for the jacket. So let's save it. This is going to save the artwork to the cloud. You can also choose to save the artwork onto the local storage, but as mentioned earlier, you must remember to back up your art. You do not want to lose your tablet or have the tablet damaged and you lose all your art. So if you do not want to save your art to local storage because there's not enough local storage, try to save your art to the cloud if you are using an app that allows you to do so. So I've got to say that the drawing experience with this tablet is better than I expected. The only two things that affect drawing experience would be the undo, palm rejection, and also the latency. 20 milliseconds of latency is actually on the slower side. Pen displays, such as those from Kuion, XPen, they have a latency of 50 milliseconds, which is still faster compared to the 20 seconds that you get here. But it's not a deal breaker, at least for me. There is latency, yes. But does it affect my drawing? No. Battery life is better than I expected. So I've been recording this video review for almost 2 hours now, and battery life dropped 30%. And based on my calculations, you can get around 7 hours of battery life with this tablet running at maximum brightness. In the worst case scenario, you can get 6 hours at maximum brightness. So battery life is pretty good. Alright, to conclude, my overall drawing experience with this tablet and the pen is on the positive side. I was able to get the lines to appear the way I want them to appear. There is no obvious diagonal line wobble or jitter, which is a huge deal here. And this matte surface is really nice to work on. And you can see this display is actually quite bright enough to go through the diffuse reflection. So this is a good display. This is definitely a good display. There are certainly many areas for improvement. Now, if Ugee can improve the latency of the pen, if they can throw in more RAM in the future, maybe add a stronger or better processor, throw in additional goodies, maybe better speakers. But those are just bonus features. The main thing here is for a drawing tablet, it should be good for drawing, and I would say this tablet is good for drawing. I'm not sure if palm rejection is hardware or software related, but it's definitely not as good compared to what I can get on Samsung tablets. If you guys are interested to buy this tablet, consider using the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below to support my YouTube channel and the work that I do here. See you guys in the next video. Bye!